So we'll see the continuation of HIV AIDS. We have already gone through the introduction, the definition, incidence, then we have seen the different methods through which HIV is transmitted, the different methods through which HIV is not transmitted as well. So next is now moving on to the epidemiology. So in epidemiology, we will go through what is the agent factors, what is the host factors, what is the reservoir of infection, source of infection, which are the high risk groups. Okay, so all that we will see in detail. So first of all, moving on to the epidemiology in agent. So what is the agent here? The agent here is the HIV virus, which is actually a RNA virus. We have seen this RNA virus. It is having a protein capsule and it is having two strands of genetic material, that is RNA and the enzymes. And this virus, it will replicate and it usually destroys the immune system, that is it is attacking the T4 or T helper cells, or we call it as CD4 cells. Okay, and they usually remain in the lymphoid tissue. But you must be aware that HIV virus is usually easily killed by heat. Okay, next is moving on to the host factors. Most of the time, it is very commonly seen in the age group between 20 to 40. Now, most of the time, this 20 to 40 age group is a particular age group where they are sexually active. So, very commonly, it is seen in this age group. And gender wise, it is noted that it is more commonly prevalent in the females. Next is moving on to the reservoir of infection. Okay, so reservoir of infection here is nothing but the cases as well as the carriers. Okay, so you must always remember that once a person is infected, once he is having HIV virus, lifelong he will spread the virus because there is no treatment for this condition. Okay, and it can be transmitted even if the person is not having any symptoms. That also happens. So most of the time, if the patient is asymptomatic also, what happens is the HIV virus is present in the blood, isn't it? So in spite of that, the person can usually spread the infection to others. Next is moving on to the source of infection. So this I have already dealt with. We will just see or revise what and all are the points. Okay, so virus is commonly seen in the blood and the body fluids like your semen, CSF fluid, synovial fluid, pleural fluid, amniotic fluid. Okay, and breast milk if it is contaminated by the blood. And less concentration is actually detected in the tears, saliva, vaginal secretions or cervical secretions, urine, and even the breast milk, unless and until it is having the blood. Okay, next is HIV virus has also been isolated in the brain tissue, lymph nodes, bone marrow cells, and even in the skin. Okay, when they had performed the autopsy, it was detected in all these places. Next is most cases I have already told are seen in between the age group of 20 to 40 years, and it commonly affects the people in the childbearing age, that is 20 to 40 years, or child rearing age, where they produce children. At that age it is more prevalent, and children under the age of 15 years contribute around 3%. Commonly they will get it from their parents only. Okay, next is high risk groups. Now, who are the high risk groups who may get HIV infection? Okay, so these may be the risk factors also. Okay, so commonly it is seen in homosexuals. Okay, so male homosexuals, it is very common. Next is it is also very common among heterosexual partners, especially the prostitutes. Okay, and commonly it is seen because of the sexual contact. Next is IV drug abuses because they share the needles or the syringes. Next is blood transfusion. Those patients who continuously take blood transfusions, maybe patients who are on dialysis or patients whose HB level is very low, who may need blood transfusion, or patients who are having hemophilia. Okay, so hemophilia, in that what happens is, usually it is a disorder where the blood will not clot normally and patient will be having excess of bleeding. So these hemophilic patients may require blood transfusions most of the time. Okay, so chances are there that because of the blood transfusion they may get the infection. Other than that, patients suffering with STI means sexually transmitted infections, those who are already suffering with the sexually transmitted infections or those who are already having STD, they are also high risk to get HIV AIDS. And HIV AIDS can be more prevalent in sex workers and their clients, because if sex workers or prostitutes get, they can spread the infection to their clients. Then labor migrants or transport workers or military people or even police or street children, they are also at high tendency to get the infection. Okay, then commonly healthcare workers can get HIV AIDS because of needle stick injury. Okay, if HIV patients needle you have got a prick, in that case chances are there that you can get HIV. And also it is very common among drug abusers and alcoholic patients. Okay, so that is a high risk group, okay, or risk factors for HIV AIDS. Then why women are considered to be at increased risk? In most of the places I have mentioned that women are at increased risk to get HIV. It could be because of sexual contact, yes, but some reasons are there that women are at increased risk because of large amount of mucosal surface area in the vagina. So what will happen? Chances are there that because of this increased mucosal surface area, there can be transmission of HIV. And one more is pooling of semen. Because semen can be pooled in the vagina, because of that what happens is a woman can get HIV AIDS. Next is young age. Due to the immature genital tract, they are also at risk. Then people who are having sexually transmitted infections or STDs, or those who have passed menopause or those who are undergoing menopause, these people also. Okay. Next is incubation period. So the incubation period, it ranges from 6 weeks to 10 years. Okay, and antibodies are produced against the virus and it's detected in the blood in between 6 weeks to 6 months. It is also called as a window period. Okay, so this period is very important here. Okay, window period means it is a time between the original infection with HIV and the appearance of this antibodies to the virus. Okay, so only during, so in this stage what happens is, in the window period stage, usually the person may be negative, okay, because the antibodies may not be present in the blood. So only after this window period usually the patient may be having the antibodies in the blood. Okay, so it is very necessary to detect the window period. Okay, so I'll repeat this again. Incubation period is ranging from 6 weeks to 10 years, and usually the antibodies will be produced against the virus in between 6 weeks to 6 months. Okay, and window period means it is a time between the original infection with the HIV and appearance of antibodies to the virus. Okay, so window period is a time between the HIV infection to the body, it produces the HIV antibodies. So only after the antibodies are present usually they can diagnose the HIV. Next is moving on to the modes of transmission of HIV. So modes of transmission of HIV is very important. Okay. So this I am not going to repeat it again. It is just the introduction. Okay. HIV is a fragile virus and we are knowing that usually HIV is spread through the blood as well as the body fluids. And some factors are there to influence the host. I think this also I might have repeated in the last class. Okay, it depends upon the frequency or duration of contact. Okay, because during that time the viral load may be increased. Okay, and it also depends upon the volume of fluid, that is how much has entered inside the body, whether it could be the semen or whether it could be the blood, how much amount has come in contact. Next, it also depends on the virulence and the concentration of the organism. Okay, it depends upon the virulence and concentration of organism. Next is the host immune status will also depend. So if immune power is very low, what happens is infection can be got. Then it also depends on the viral load, that is how much amount of viruses are present in the blood. Okay, I have already explained about the viral load, isn't it? And it depends how much amount of viral load is present in the semen or vaginal secretions or even in the breast milk. Then large amount of HIV can be found in the blood during the first 6 months of infection. Okay, so during first 6 months of infection, it is very high amount of viral load will be there, and even in the late stages of the disease, usually there will be very high viral load. Okay, so these are the major factors which depend. Okay, so other than that, we will see what are the etiology, what is the etiology of HIV. Okay, so the etiology is, first of all, it is transmitted by sexual transmission. Other than that, it is also transmitted because of contact with the blood and body blood products. If you come in contact with blood products, also you can get HIV. Next is perinatal transmission. Okay, and then there are some other risk factors. So first of all, moving on to sexual transmission, most of the time unprotected sexual contact with the HIV infected partner. That is the most common method of transmission of AIDS. Okay, and sexual activity, it provides contact with the blood, sorry, it provides contact with the semen and vaginal secretions. And if there is trauma to the genital organs, then blood also can come in contact. Okay, then the most common cause of sexual transmission is heterosexual transmission. Okay, it is common among the homosexuals, but even it is more common among the heterosexuals. Okay, so unprotected anal intercourse is told to be the most riskiest method. Through this method, what happens is there is high chance of transmission of HIV. Okay, so during any form of sexual intercourse, it could result, but most of the time anal intercourse is the first main riskiest method. Other than that, vaginal or oral methods can also be a method of HIV transmission. Okay, the risk of infection is greater for the partner who receives the semen, although the infection can also be transmitted to a inserting partner. Okay, so either if at all they receive the semen also or inserting partner also, in either cases there can be transmission of HIV AIDS. Then next is sexual activities which involve contact with the blood, especially during the time of menses, or if there is trauma to the genital organs. What will happen? If there is trauma to the genital organs also, blood can directly enter, isn't it? So the transmission of HIV AIDS will be more. Next is, if the person is having any genital lesions in the, maybe in the private part, okay, it could be like herpes or syphilis. In that case, what happens is, in herpes and syphilis, the patients will be having certain lesions. Okay, so that can increase the risk of infection. Okay, next method of HIV transmission is contact with blood and blood products. Now, when you will be coming in contact with blood and blood products, most of the time when you are receiving the blood transfusion, or if you are sharing the same equipments, maybe you are sharing the same needles, you are sharing the same syringe, razors or blades, or even the sharp instruments. When you share these instruments, what happens is, again the risk of getting infection of HIV will increase. Next is puncture wounds are one more main causes for work related transmission. So what happens is, the risk of infection after a needle stick injury to the HIV infected blood is around 0.3 to zero point 0.4. Okay, so when you get a needle stick injury, this much high chances are there to get the HIV. Okay, if at all the person was already infected. In that case, you may have to take the post exposure prophylaxis, which we will discuss later. Next is splash exposure. Splash exposure means maybe it is entering inside your eyes, or even The blood can just come in contact with the skin when there is an open lesion and all. Okay, in that case also there is chance of infection of HIV, but it is very low, very less risky, okay, than the puncture wound. If you get a direct needle stick injury, the risk is more high when compared to the splash exposure. Next method of transmission of HIV is perinatal transmission. Okay, perinatal transmission is the most common method in which children will get the infection. Here, the HIV infected mother will spread the infection to the infant. Okay, or sometimes it can happen during breastfeeding also. Now, on average, 25% of the infants born to untreated HIV infected women will be born with HIV. Okay, so this is also very one more common method of infection. Then other methods of HIV transmission include, if you have got open cuts and the blood is infected blood has come in contact, or if there is a break in your skin or mucous membrane and then the blood had come in contact, here also there is transmission of HIV. Or directly you have got a injection prick from the patient, or if you are sharing the needles of an HIV patient, or if you are drug abuse, then that time also you can get HIV. Then occupational transmission is very common among healthcare workers, especially on nurses, very common among nurses, okay? Lab technicians, sometimes doctors, especially when they get needle prick injury. Then organ transplant. Now organ transplant, most of the time they will check for HIV or hepatitis B and all, but sometimes there could be transmission of HIV if they have not observed it. Then blood transfusions also we have already discussed, there is very high rate. Artificial insemination. Commonly artificial insemination is actually an artificial reproductive method. Usually when the couples are not getting conceived, okay, they don't have children, then they usually go for this artificial insemination where they will deliver the sperms directly to the cervix or to the uterus in order to um, be pregnant. Okay, so in that method also sometimes chances are there that this HIV infection can spread. Okay, so this is particularly about the transmission of HIV AIDS, okay, the etiology, and that is important.